Here on the slopes above the Hokianga Harbour is Māngai Mission House, where 70 chiefs signed Te Tiriti on February 12, 1840. The treaty was meant to signal a new era for Aotearoa and promised to ensure the health, education and spiritual care of Māori.
My tupuna, Te Taonui, signed not only Te Tiriti, but also he whakaputanga 5 years earlier, the Declaration of Independence.
But 180 years on, not far from this historic site, this is how the descendants of those rangatira are now living. In substandard housing, some whānau calling a tent or tarpaulin their home.
I think if he was looking at the valley now and seeing what has become of his people, of his whānau, I think he would be deeply, deeply upset by that.
From my point of view, that tiriti has never been honoured.
What do you think your tupuna would think about seeing the way whānau are living here today?
It's not acceptable. It's not good enough. And while I'm still breathing, I'll continue to disagree with what's currently happening for our people.
On the upper reaches of the Hokianga Harbour is Utakura Valley, an isolated rural community that's home to around 300 whānau. Most of the land here is Māori-owned. Remana Matiu has lived in this whare on his whenua for almost 40 years.
I would never move away from here because this is where my wife passed away.
The 60-year-old has multiple health issues to contend with.
Our health is not too flash. We have diabetes, kidney failure. Doesn't make it easy when our conditions of our whare is like how it is.
It's startling to learn that Remana has only recently had running water installed.
Te wā, e ora taku horanga tira, a mātou, e kaukau ngea na I roto te pere, I waho, hore ngea na ngā mea paru, I roto te pere, ka mea, ka pāra ngea ngā waiwera I runga te ahi, I waho, ka mauri mai ki roto te, ki te horo I roto te, ka horo ngea te tinana I roto te tomato, I roto te ruma I kona.
The lack of adequate heating in his whare means his mokopuna can no longer stay there, but Remana still feels blessed.
I've always been taught to be grateful, you know, and then also whānau that are living worse off than us. So, you know, I consider myself quite lucky to have what I've got, whereas some haven't got anything, you know, they haven't got any whenua.
Kia ora, Remana.
Kia ora, Jenny.
How are you?
Ki te pai.
Nice to see you.
Former New Zealand First List MP Jenny Marcroft's father was born in Utakura Valley. Remana is her cousin.
Coming in such close contact with someone who is a relation, someone that you care about, to see their situation is just heartbreaking. When I came to this valley and reconnected with not just my whakapapa, but the place where my father was born, and that spiritual connection I have with it, I realised that actually I have to use my voice in a different way.
In 2017, she entered Parliament to speak out about the conditions her whānau were living in.
Shall I make you up a bread roll?
It's all very well to choose not to see something, but once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And I saw it, and I had to do something about it, so I got myself into politics.
Our valley in North Hokianga is a place where extension cords stretch from windows across.
She highlighted the plight facing her whānau in her maiden speech in Parliament.
And the silent poverty that blows through the region.
It caught the attention of the coalition government's Minister of Māori Development, Nanaia Mahuta, who asked for a report on how to improve the housing and well-being for whānau in the valley.
There felt like there was a will to actually take a look at the situation.
The report Alva Pomare wrote makes for confronting reading. She grew up in the valley and documented the dire conditions whānau are living in.
The needs were high and they were vast. I know I cried for the first day. And I thought, we can't be like this. Can't be, And it was, okay, so what do we do about this?
Alva is passionate about Utakura and her people. This is the whare on her papakainga where she and her 16 siblings were raised. Like the majority of properties in the rohe, it's in desperate need of repair.
What conditions have you seen whānau living in?
There are some homes that don't have bathrooms. Outside there may be a drum that collects water if there is a guttering system there that becomes washing water. I mean, you sit in a home that's absolutely freezing and you put on the heater, it just goes right out the back, in the front door and out the back door.
Unbelievably, whānau here pay almost the same council rates as Kerikeri, even though that's a large town. And despite the valley's water supply described as being in a similar condition to third world living standards. Buying water to fill tanks is beyond the means of most whānau here.
The water is really critical. Safe, clean drinking water is an absolute human right. There is a huge inequity here, and that inequity is alive and well because we look like this.
And in the past year, things have worsened. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted and increased the multiple health and social issues in the valley. Alva also notes an increase in whānau returning to their whenua, escaping the high costs of living in the city, forced to live on their land with the bare minimum.
I really can't see how coming home and having to put up a tent is okay anymore when we're in 2021.
A whānau of 13 returned to Utakura last year and were living in this lean-to until fire destroyed the structure.
The whānau were actually living in that at the time of the lockdown during COVID. And then that went up in smoke and the whole batch got burnt to the ground. They actually came out with nothing, just the clothes on their back and the children.
Since Christmas, that whānau have been living under this makeshift tarpaulin shelter.
Someone just said to me yesterday, so are you looking for a handout? And I'm really clear about this is not about handouts. This is about equity. This is about being able to develop a pathway forward, because if we don't do that now, I can see it getting worse.
Coming up, Utakura finally gets the help it desperately needs, but it's not for everyone.
I don't believe it's been enough.
If you're going to change people's lives and lift people out of poverty, you've got to give them a hand up, not a handout.
This boardwalk is part of the Po Heringa Tai, or Twin Coast Cycle Trail, that cuts through the rural settlement of Utakura Valley. The multi-million-dollar tourist attraction was part of the national government's cycle trail network and promoted economic returns for Northland locals. But whānau that live in this isolated community have seen no benefits from the cycle path and continue to live in rundown dwellings.
The millions that have gone into that, there's something seriously wrong with that picture, that the Broadway is more important than those that live in the valley and the development.
And this was bewildering to me, that all of these people would cycle past homes that were clearly in ruins, that people were living in deprivation levels that were just way off the scale. And not only that, but the government at the time that built the cycleway through this particular area of deprivation, did no one ever say this is a place that needs attention, that the government needs to step in here?
After former List MP Jenny Marcroft made government ministers aware of the housing issues in 2017, $1 million was given to repair and retrofit whare in the region.
So in this case, the bathroom was done, the weatherboards were done, the house was closed up and the roof was done.
What does having that work mean to the whānau?
They're really grateful. And I think all of the families are really grateful in relation to the type of support that it offers whānau.
While it's a move in the right direction, many whānau don't qualify. 20 homes in the valley were put forward for the Home Improvement Scheme. 10 were accepted, each getting around $30,000 worth of work. This is one of the whare that was turned down, considered beyond repair, and it was recommended that it should be demolished.
I'm wanting to ensure that those that did not meet the criteria, at least we'd be able to find other ways and supporting those families to be able to find a pathway forward. I don't believe it's been enough. Even when we finish these 10 homes, my view is that it has to come back, and we need to be sitting at the table with that.
Alva's thankful things are happening, but wants action. She says whānau have been waiting far too long.
We can get heaps of reports done, we can get assessments done, we can get condition reports done, and that's cost thousands of dollars. You might as well have given me the money and we could have had a home done for one of the whānau in need. That's more effective to us than all of the bits of paper, because that report will just now go on the shelf again. And unless another minister takes us seriously, we're going to stay where we are. And for me, that's not good enough for another set of generations.
Alva and Jenny are working on how their community can take control and come up with its own solutions, creating an employment and economic base for themselves.
Let's bring in the resources to help people fix it themselves, and that's really important to enable everyone that wants to be a part of it to be a part of their own solution, so that they can stand on their new foundations and move ahead with their lives.
But despite the deprivation you can see on the outside, it's their strong sense of whanaungatanga and connection to their whenua that gives whānau the strength to stay in Utakura Valley.
The land is a gift that's been gifted to us from our ancestors and our loved ones that have passed on. We were told to look after the land, to look after whatever we have around us.
Remana Matiu's holding on for his moko.
This is their tūranga wāwai. They always got a papa kāinga to come back to. And that's why I wouldn't swap it for anything.
The bones of our old people are buried there. It's important to feel connected to where you live, and if you have that deep spiritual connection to a place, no one should ask you to remove yourself and go live somewhere else. And it's time, I believe, as a nation, that we fix up what has become extremely broken in our country.